So this installation only applies to the HD820. It will not work with any other Sennheiser headphones or any other models. These ear pads have been made specifically only for this model to date so far. So first thing you want to do is this here is the plastic frame of the inside of one of these ear pads. And I'm just going to show you what it looks like so you have an idea as to how it attaches. You can see these little tiny clips right here with a little plastic mark inside. They go all the way around the plastic frame of this frame. And basically what that does is it is just going to latch into the surroundings of the headphones on the inside. You can see there's a little bit of ledges here. It's going to be hard to show you this, but you can see there's these little tiny ledges like that one right there. There's another one right here. It's a little tiny plastic ledge. Well, these little things here clip underneath there. The installation is easy. However, when you are attaching a new set of ear pads, they are not molded perfectly to the headphones yet. This is an original ear pad. You can see there's a very defined rim of that plastic frame and the PU leather that surrounds it. It has been inside that headphone for years and it is molded to it. So attaching the original ear pad is going to be easier than attaching a new ear pad because you don't have that perfectly well-defined frame shape at the back. So it's not much harder, but it will be a tiny bit. So I'll show you how I tend to do it. Now, another thing you are going to notice is that the ear pads get damaged based on the way that the installation is done on these headphones. It can't be avoided. You're going to notice as soon as you take off your original ear pads that there's these little cuts in the PU leather on the side, and that is from these little tiny ledges that I showed you earlier that are basically poking into the leather to hold and clip onto this plastic frame here. So it causes these little kind of like tiny little cuts. So if you do install them too much or too often, eventually you will cut through the leather if you're doing it enough. It's not the most ideal design because obviously the ear pads are damaged before you even use them, but it is the only design we have to work with. All right, first step is just removing the ear pads, which is super simple. Probably the easiest ear pads there are for removing. You're just going to grab the ear pad itself with your thumb and your fingers and then just pull out. All right. The scrims will most likely stay in place, but if they don't, there is a little piece of adhesive right here, and all you need to do is put them back in place. Just press down in there, and you're good. And the other side. If this video is helping you out, Monty the AHG dog wants you to smash that like button and share it with a friend, because this is how he gets more biscuits. Don't forget that 60% of the time, it's a great idea every time to subscribe and hit those bell notifications and stay in the loop with all of our news, reviews, and how-tos. Alright, so obviously these headphones are very expensive, and certain areas on the headphone are going to be much more fragile than others. So for example, the hinge here, when I'm installing the ear pads, I don't touch that whatsoever. I don't touch any of this or this whatsoever either. The Gorilla Glass is meant to be super strong, but I don't even touch that either. It's not really in a practical spot to use to push anyways. The only place I'm actually going to put my fingers is right around the edges here, because this is a fairly solid piece of plastic and it's not going to fall off or crack easily. And you're not really pushing that hard anyways to do it, but you definitely don't want to put any type of pressure on these areas and on that hinge. So when it comes to the ear pad, I'm just gripping it around the outside, and I'm going to feel for that plastic frame on the inside. So I can feel that right there, and that's what I'm basically gripping, and I'm going to be pushing in like that. So bit of a sandwich action, I guess you could say. So I think I'm going to extend one side that I'm attaching the ear pad to, And I'm going to line up this little stitching line right here. And I want that to line up with the middle of this little, these two little bolt looking type things. And I'm just going to push down and in. Now the key here is once you get the back side in, you're most likely going to have the front side kind of up a bit because the plastic frame won't go all the way in and latch. So what you need to do is basically get the back side in first and then move your way around to the front, and then what you can do is just push it in and it will usually work. But if that doesn't work, what you can do is also put your thumb on the back to hold the back in place, and then use your fingers in the front and give it a little push inwards and then down. So a little in and then down, and then that kind of helps you get these little things here a little bit more space to get into place and then actually latch underneath those little plastic pieces on the headphone frame like that. So this one here is in, I believe. Are we in? Yes, we're in. So let's move on to the second one. So now I'm going to retract that one and extend this one. We have a little bit less room to work with here, which is annoying, but it is what it is. Right, so same old story. I'm going to go this way. And I'm lining up this with the middle of that. Checking these corners. Looks good to me. The front is definitely not in place though. So let's twist this around. And now you can see the front is definitely out. So I'm going to put my thumb there, fingers at the front, and I'm pulling in and pushing down. So that pulling in and pushing down really works well for these, especially with the new protein leather that hasn't been perfectly formed yet. And there you go. Installed. Ready to go.